Good morning. My name is Lisa. I'm the President and CEO of the Calabasas Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to our organized retail crime conversation. We are delighted to have you join us today. As you all know, this is a very important matter and a very timely discussion. We are all affected by this issue, either directly or indirectly. Thank you to Deputy Para of the newly formed Organized Retail Crime Task Force for reaching out to us to make this event happen. Thank you to the City of Calabasas Mayor Pro Tem Peter Kraut for making the connection with the Chamber and Deputy Para. And thank you to the City of Calabasas for hosting us and providing a wonderful space for us to gather here for this discussion. Lastly, a big thank you to our elite sponsor, First Choice Security Guard and Patrol Services. They are a new chamber member located right here in Calabasas. They jumped right in to sponsor this event, which helped provide your lunch today. So please, let's give them, as well as our special guests, an applause. At this time, I am pleased to introduce to you and to bring up City of Calabasas Council Member, Mr. Ed Albrecht.
Thank you, Lisa. It's really an honor and a privilege to be here today and to have this discussion and to have so many people who this matter affects and trying to come up with solutions. A conversation with an organized retail task force team is amazing. It's amazing in itself that we have one and one that can be effective for us. So we want to support that and learn as much as we can and hear from the residents and retailers alike. Before we move into the program, I'd like to take a few minutes just to identify some prominent members of the community that are here. And we're going to start off with Councilmember James Bazagian. Didn't see him here, but and David Shapiro, council member as well, and our Mayor Alicia Weintraub and Mayor Pro Tem Peter Kraut. Unfortunately, are both Alicia's on city business and Peter's on professional business out of town. Want to recognize Kendon Meek, our city manager, doing a great job. We also have Nancy Frawley, Office of the Assembly member, Jackie Irwin. We have Captain Situ sitting next to Kendon. Thank you. Deputy Parma, Detective Wong, Detective Toranigui. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and my apologies. They're all from the Organized Retail Task Force team. I didn't see John Losing here, but he's on the schedule that he should have been. He's from the Acorn. He's the managing editor and also a longtime journalist. And Eamon Murphy, who's a reporter and journalist as well from the Acorn. Including today is Jake is not here. So we're got Jake, did he show up? Jake Demirkian from Caruso? Yeah. Very, very good. Jake is an important element in this city. You know, he's not only works on the Commons, but he's the Valley Regional Property Manager, which includes the Commons for the Caruso organization. So, a couple comments about today, and in thinking about this and the history that so many of us have with the city and our need and desire to protect, and the surprise of the past couple of years, how and outrage that crime is rampant, and there are new and very unique challenges that our city is facing. And one of the ways to overcome that challenge is to have retailers report their crimes. It's very important that that happens. And the reason for that is they may be concerned about insurance rates. I'm not sure what their reasons are. But if the city doesn't have the opportunity to obtain the data about crimes, we can't appropriate funds that it might be necessary to overcome it. So that's an important message for today. Please pass that on to your fellow retailers or the ones that are here. So with that being said, Lisa, why don't you take over? Thank you for attending today.
Thank you, Councilmember. Thank you, Councilmember. Let's begin our program. Please give a warm welcome to Deputy Para and Detective Jan Wong of the Organized Retail Crime Task Force.
All right, good morning, everyone. We'd like to thank the City of Calabasas, the Chamber of Commerce for having us, as well as Lost Hill Station and Captain C2 for having us do this presentation today. I know that organized retail crime has been a huge topic, not only in LA County, but statewide and in the nation as well. So in response, we're going to talk today a little bit more about what our task force is doing, how we're collaborating with not only the station and different agencies in law enforcement and prosecutory agencies, but also with businesses and the cities as well. First off, I'd like to just show a few videos to give examples of what organized retail crime is. Right here, this is actually probably what most people think of when we talk about organized retail thefts, smash and grab type incidents. This is actually an incident out of our Palmdale Station area at Kimberly's Jewelry. This is also a case that's being investigated by one of our investigators. There are 4 individuals involved and 3 have been identified. The case is still working, but very brazen if you can tell. The guys come in with hammers, they bear maced some of the employees, very concerning. All right. The second video is actually another case that the task force is working right now. This is out of our Bellflower area in Lakewood Station. And that vehicle is actually a stolen government vehicle. It's a U.S. Navy recruitment vehicle that was stolen. And the suspects actually went, backed into the business, small business at that, and ended up walking out with armfuls of merchandise. The task force is currently also actively working this case as well. The merchandise that was stolen was actually identified at a different location out in, I believe, like the West Hollywood area, where they were selling high-end merchandise, like Supreme shirts, sneakers, things like that. All right, and this next video is actually probably more commonly what we see when we talk about organized retail crimes. This was out of the Nike East LA store, where more oftentimes it's numerous individuals that are walking into a retailer or business, and due to the amount of people that are involved, it's overwhelming store security and personnel. So in this instance, there was actually a crew of 12 that was identified by one of our task force investigators, and they were all arrested for the charges and with organized retail theft as well. But yes, this actually predated the formation of the Organized Retail Task Force. This case took place in August. We formed in September, but a lot of it was in response to this. This is one of the first cases that the task force worked. All right, so really quick, I know we saw some great videos that are examples of what organized retail crimes can be, but what are organized retail crimes? So essentially, they're planned and coordinated efforts, like we just saw. All these guys have a plan of attack. Who's going to drive the car in? Who's going to walk in, grab merchandise? Who's the getaway driver? Where are we going? It's a plan to coordinate and steal from retailers. It typically involves several people, like we saw, acting together to commit the crimes. And the losses, as we've seen, are very high dollar, can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Individuals usually take the stolen items and they sell them. They convert them to cash. We just did a warrant yesterday where items were ending up at swap meets, at local retailers or online platforms. We see a lot of that as well. And as we saw, it can be very brazen, right? Especially with the flash mob and smash and grab types of crimes. So in response, LASD formed the Organized Retail Crime Task Force in September of 2023. It operates out of our Major Crimes Bureau, where we are assigned, and it's composed of 3 teams. So we have a North team, a South team, and the Burglary Robbery Task Force, which was an existing team at our Major Crimes Bureau. So BRTF, which is what we call it, their specialty is actually bank robberies, home invasion robbery crews. So they brought their expertise in working those crimes to be able to address this very important issue. The one note that I do want to add about our North and South teams is they're actually composed of detectives from stations all over the county. So we have very fine Detective Taranaki from Lost Hill Station, who's very familiar with the areas here because he actually worked here. So for me, for example, I appreciate that, right? I worked in the Basin. So unless it was, Linwood or an area like that, kind of not really aware of what goes on in the different areas. I know when we go up to Lancaster, Palmdale, definitely different demographics, different communities, different concerns that they have there. So it's great that we have detectives from all over the county who are able to work with us and work as a team, especially when there's crimes that are impacting the specific communities that they come from. So yes, each team consists of 10 detectives, a sergeant, and we're all overseen by 1 lieutenant. Next, we're going to have my partner here, Deputy Parra, talk a little bit more about what the task force is doing and the ways that we're working to address organized crimes.
And I'm just going to explain a little bit of what we do as a task force. We do come together with retailers to conduct blitz operations at shopping centers or malls. And the way this works is we have direct communication with loss prevention in these different retailer stores. Our detectives are out there doing undercover work. So when these people come in, commit the crime, we wait for them to come out of the store and we take them into custody. We also partner with patrol stations to help address the high dollar or noteworthy organized retail crimes committed in those stations areas. We handle high-level investigations to identify, apprehend, and arrest individuals who are committing these kind of crimes throughout the Southern California areas. And also identify and investigate fence locations to help curb the demand for stolen goods. And for those of you who don't know what a fence location is, she kind of explained it a little bit. So these stolen items are taken to, it can be a warehouse, it can be a house, just a different location where they're getting money in return. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody. The person who steals gets money from it, and the person receiving the product resells it. Either, like she said, online or at a different retailer store. So for them, it's always a win-win, not for the actual retailers, of course. Some of the ways our task force is working with businesses in the community to address these kind of crimes. We collaborate with retailers to share information and address these type of incidents. So we have a very closed line of communication with these retailers and their loss prevention. Our detectives are constantly in communication, so they're sharing information that they've gathered, with the loss prevention of these retailers. They share whatever investigations they've already initiated, and together they just create a bigger and better investigation, and that's how they're able to identify a lot of these suspects or subjects. We are part of the Los Angeles Organized Retail Crime Association. So in this association, a lot of the different agencies, not just in LA County, but in different counties as well, are coming together to share information as well. So they might be working a case that, we're also working on our end. They come together and they put all these different investigations together to create a bigger and better case. We also provide outreach to businesses, retailers, and community groups on how to recognize and deter organized retail thefts. So like we're here right now speaking to you guys. We also do it for, town hall meetings for the stations or just businesses who would like us to go out there and talk to their employees as, tips that we may want to give them that can help them in making their business better and safer. How cities in Los Angeles County can support retail crime task force efforts. Well, we do ask local retailers and businesses to assist with investigations, obviously providing any surveillance videos, any investigative materials. If they do have employees there at the time of these incidents when deputies are responding, we do ask them to provide that kind of video and as much information regarding the crime. That way we can get the ball rolling and start this investigation and put out that information so everybody has it immediately, so these suspects can be taken into custody. For cities, we do recommend purchasing and implementing crime-fighting technology throughout the city, such as license plate readers. I know you guys do have them out here, right? And they have helped a lot of the cases for our detectives. And then, like my partner said, our task force started in September 2023. So far, the task force has worked 990 cases. They have authored 459 warrants, arrested 694 individuals committing these kind of crimes, recovered over $16 million in stolen merchandise, and have presented over 412 adult cases for filing consideration with the LA County DA's office.
We'll kind of give a few case examples just so everyone can understand the type of work that we're doing, the type of investigation that we're doing, and the different levels of it as well. We recently had this large-scale fence operation a few weeks ago. This was in the Los Angeles area. Our investigator was actually approached by CVS. CVS has private investigators who identified booster crews. There were several of them that were stealing merchandise, pharmaceuticals, soap, Tide Pods, things like that, all the way from Arizona, Nevada, through California. And they were bringing all the merchandise back to Los Angeles County. With the help of the CVS investigators, they linked up with our task force investigator, and they were able to identify that all these booster crews were coming into LA County and dropping off merchandise in the Compton area. And this is where the merchandise was being received. And really, we'd be out there on surveillance, and you would see people drive up, open the trunk, just boxes, trash bags full of merchandise. And right there, it'd be a cash exchange right in the parking lot of whatever location that they had indicated, and they would do the exchange right then and there. Since January 2024, between CVS, Walgreens, Target, and Walmart, these crews are responsible for upwards of $100,000 of stolen items that they were then bringing to this fence location that was receiving them, where they were then reselling them, or, well, not really selling. They didn't buy them to begin with, so they were essentially selling them, right? And it also ended up in legitimate storefronts from people that were buying these items, not knowing that they were stolen. So with the work of the detectives, they have identified 12 locations and 9 suspects that were connected to this fencing operation. So after a lot of surveillance, a lot of work that we did, the detectives served a 12-location warrant, and we recovered large amounts of cash, a stolen firearm, and a lot of evidence of operating an illegal fencing operation. 8 suspects were arrested in conjunction with running this operation, and throughout the course of that day, the detectives worked closely with CVS, Target, Walmart, and Walgreens, amongst other retailers, who actually sent personnel to each of these warehouse locations, and they helped us identify the merchandise. That was such a great collaborative effort because it helps our cases as the detectives if the retailers and the businesses are able to say, hey, you know, this aspirin never crossed through a checkout stand. It never got paid for. So it helps us build our case to say, yeah, they're in possession of stolen property. All in all, there was over $2.3 million in confirmed stolen merchandise that was recovered. There's still, I believe, another few $100,000 worth of merchandise, which retailers are still working through to try to find and figure out, okay, what store did this come from? Where was it stolen from? Here's just some photos. There was huge warehouses where they were, you know, bringing these items essentially, and that they were either being resold or working with other retailers essentially who were unaware that these were stolen items to be purchased. So there was several large warehouses, one in the Bell area, another one in our Florence Firestone area. So next case, a little similar, my partner's just going to talk about, it's another crew that we worked.
This is going to be the Bath and Body Works crew, and I'm not sure if you guys have heard, but Bath and Body Works has been hit multiple times. This is like one of the bigger ones too that's losing a lot due to these booster crews. This occurred from March 2023 up to this year in 2024 of January actually. The total loss was over 130,000. Our investigators worked directly with the investigators from Bath and Body Works, who had already identified some of these individuals. As you can see, there's 4 pictured here on this slide. The investigators authored a search warrant for social media and obtained that search warrant. They were able to confirm the thefts of the stolen items. They did a 4-location search warrant, not only in LA County, but also in Orange County. And then recovered over 30,000 in stolen merchandise, and that was able to be returned to Bath and Body Works. I know we just had 4 pictured on there, but there was a total of 16 in this crew that were identified during this operation.
All right, so our last case example is actually going to be pertinent for everyone here, members of the community. This was another pharmacy fencing location out in our Willowbrook area. And this actually came from a community tip. We had a community tip. Someone from the community said, hey, I think there's something suspicious going on. This tip went through our Century Station, and they said, there's a lot of weird activity. We're seeing cars pull up. We're seeing hand-to-hand exchanges. We're really not sure. So to most of us in law enforcement, we'd kind of think, well, given the area and what's occurring, probably indicative of some narcotics transactions, right? So when we did some follow-up, we actually figured out, well, no, they're not. When people are pulling up, very similar to our other LA fencing operation, People would show up with huge trash bags full of pharmaceuticals, different items, boxes. And right in the apron of the driveway at this location, the people that were operating this fence location would actually come out, meet them, grab the items, go through it, give them cash, and they'd be on to the next. We were out there for a few hours. I think we had saw maybe like 8 to 10 cars come through, do the same sort of drop off. So it was a very well-known fencing location that came through a community tip. So after several hours of surveillance that were conducted at the location, and based off our observations, our detective was able to author a warrant, and we conducted an investigation where we arrested 8 individuals for selling stolen property and 4 for operating the fencing location. So here's just some of the photos of the items that were taken back to our station once we inventoried it. Another great example of just partnership between different retailers and the task force. We had retailers from CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid, Ralph's, Vaughn's. They all came out, and sometimes you think, oh, we're law enforcement, right? We should have the best top technology. Well, some of these retailers have better technology than us. They actually have devices where they can see if an item ever passed through a checkout stand, essentially, and was paid for. So with their help, we were able to identify over $65,000 worth of stolen merchandise at this one location that was recovered, and the retailers took that back with them that day. So it's just a great example of collaboration, not only with the task force investigators and with the retailers, but from the community, because that tip came from someone in the community. So we, just love to showcase this to show that it's a collaborative effort, and it's something that we all need to work together to address and solve. Like we just talked about, tips and leads are very important to us, so please feel free to call our hotline. If you're a retailer or a business that you're seeing an uptick in this, please let us know. We will collaborate and work with the station and see how we can best address the issue. For other general inquiries, that's also our email. Feel free to reach out. We'll be here if you have any questions. I think we're going to do a Q&A portion, so thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate being here and being able to share more information on our task force and this important issue.
Okay, thank you so much. So we are going to open up to Q&A. We have 2 more speakers. At this time, I would like to bring up our sponsor, Anthony, from First Choice Security Guard and Patrol Services.
Thank you, Lisa, and everyone. Appreciate you guys coming out today. Yeah, of course, this is a huge task to take on, and we're glad that everyone came out to help present the focus on trying to prevent these types of issues and bring together everyone as a community. So what we're trying to do is address why it's so important and how it can affect everyone. Essentially, when we see that it can erode the community's safety and the confidence of people working within the community, shopping in the community, businesses working with clients on a small and a large scale to kind of tackle these issues and kind of keep the conversation open. As far as us as an institution, we're doing our best to kind of communicate with our people that we work with, essentially, to address those important issues. And right now what we're doing is a rollout of our community outreach program, which essentially is a program that we're doing free security assessments, so to establish if there's any type of protocol or procedural issues that might not be, cover the scope of all the potential potentials for losses and any kind of extra things that might, want to be addressed. So an effective prevention requires a collaborative effort from everyone, and that comes from the loss prevention specialists. It comes from the clients and the people that come in the community. So addressing customers and letting them know it's important. They're an important part of the fabric of being able to cover everyone and ensure the safety of business as usual. Yeah, so we just want to let everyone know we're very thankful for having us out here, and we're more than happy to help as a company and an institution to help everyone reach that goal of creating a more safe environment and a shopping comfort that everyone has the ability to go out and not have to see people ransacking places and have that type of energy around their children, and protecting everyone as a whole, and especially the businesses, and ensuring the consistency of a peaceful community. And yeah, I just want to thank everyone for having us out here today, and everyone coming out and showing their concerns, and it's really an honor to be a part of such a pervasive program that's going to allow the community to work together so well in conjunction with law enforcement to help ensure safety and loss prevention. And I really want to thank everyone for being a part of this, and thank you for having us a part of it. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to bring up from the Malibu Lost Hill Sheriff Station, we have Captain Jennifer Situ. She will be talking to us about what's going on here locally. Big round of applause for our captain.
Anybody scared about what we just saw? Anybody concerned about what we just saw? Good, good. I want you guys to be concerned. And so now the question comes back to us, right? Comes back to law enforcement, especially your home station. So, Gen C2, what are you going to do about this, right? How are you going to protect us? How many of you are either work for a storefront business or own a storefront business or shop at a storefront business? Okay, cool. Then this is important to you. So, we believe in innovation. We've got to be innovative, right? We've got to change the way we do things. Has anyone seen our recent Facebook post, thanks to my detective sergeants, Sergeant Brandon Painter and Sergeant Brian Moore, who are amazing, that showed a camera outside somebody's house? Did anybody see that? That was doing surveillance on somebody's house? It's actually here in Calabasas. Concerning to anybody? Yes. So what are we doing about it? So I want to tell you about our real-time crime and disaster center that we're having at the station. And if you haven't heard about this, I want you to personally get a hold of us. We're happy to do tours and show you the center. It's not complete yet. We're just waiting for a little technical stuff that got to be worked out. But we're onboarding the community to this now. So what is it? No, law enforcement's not spying on you. That's not what's happening. But what is happening is we're taking public-facing cameras and live stream them into the station and using a software called Fusus. And this software was recently purchased by Axon, which is $1 billion company. So kudos to Sergeant Brandon Painter for picking the right software. We know it's the right one. Vegas Metro uses this. We went and toured Vegas Metro, sat with Vegas Metro. We spent time with Beverly Hills PD. Hey, what are you doing? And looked at all these agencies and took all the best practices and brought them home to our community. And this is the first real-time crime and disaster center in the nation that is not owned by the government. That's why we can get things done, by the way. It is actually owned by the community. It's privately funded by some very nice people in Malibu that funded this for us and literally dropped off checks at our station. So this is your real-time crime and disaster center. So right now, I think the first to onboard was the Commons. We onboarded the Commons to live stream their systems into our station. And basically, they can get cameras with technology that has artificial intelligence. I know, AI, everybody's scared of AI. But this is the good AI, because this is the one that protects us, right? So I can geofence the Commons and say, you know what, nobody should be there from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., right? And does anybody remember that we had 7 burglaries at like around 2 a.m. in the morning? Everybody remember that? Well, if we had this technology then, we would have been alerted to this. So I could geofence the Commons. And anytime there's motion at the Commons, it pops up into my real-time crime center. The first 5 cameras pop up, and we can look at it and say, that's cleaning crew, that's the manager, that's security, or hey deputies, I need you to start rolling to the Commons, and this is what we see, and immediately get deputies there. Another thing is burglary alarms, right? So the burglary alarms, what do? They get a call to a private third-party company, whatever your alarm company is, right? Then that company calls the manager or the owner. And so now we're about 5 minutes into this, okay? And then finally, when they can't get a hold of anybody, then they call law enforcement. So now we're maybe 5 to 7 minutes into this. You saw those videos that Major Crimes put up. Where do you think they're at in 5 to 7 minutes? They're gone. They're on the 101. They're out of here. Well, we've got to close that gap, right? We got to think differently. So the way to do this is now through our system, burglary alarms still go to the third party, but they go directly to the station immediately. So we're trying to basically take all of our jurisdiction, and mind you, I have 187 square miles, but I'm trying to take my whole entire jurisdiction, get this technology up and running, and basically send a message to all the crooks saying, do not come to our jurisdiction and commit your crimes. So that's what we're trying to do right now. We're also working on a drone program. So I think I'm almost there. That is brutal going through government trying to get a drone program. But I got them for crime, or not for crime, I got them for disasters. Okay, so I got my foot in the door. But I am going to go for crime. Some people are nervous about that. Anybody nervous about me using drones for crime? That's why I love Calabasas. You guys are so amazing. I don't know how many of you guys, please get drones for crime. Well, so I spoke to our oversight commissions. I spoke to the assemblywoman who's tired of hearing me talk about drones, and our senator and our supervisor. We've got to think differently. If crooks are using this technology, what are we doing? We've got to be able to use it. And even our school district, right? So school shootings, I'm a mom. Actually, I have some parents that that I know from, all our kids go to school together. We want our kids to be safe, right? That's right. And so now the Los Virgenes school district, they have cameras at their school. They have partnered with us. And no parent has balked at this. You know why? Because they want their kids to be safe. They want law enforcement to see these public-facing cameras when a incident occurs. We are committed to protecting your kids. We are committed to protecting your community. But one thing we need is we need your help. When my partners here talked about, gave their presentation, and then our sponsor came up and gave his presentation, they all said something. They all said the word collaboration. I don't know if you caught that, but they talked about collaboration. They talked about collaborating with the different businesses, but it doesn't stop there. We have to collaborate. You have to come to the table with me. I'm all in. My detectives are all in. I know your city and your council members, like the best. They are all in. But what we need is for the community to come and meet with us. You've got to meet us halfway. And I know the Commons have done that, being the first to onboard, so thank you so much to the Commons. The school district has done that. But now, if you live in this jurisdiction, how many live in the Malibu Lost Hills jurisdiction, meaning Hidden Hills, Calabasas, Westlake Village, Malibu, and unincorporated? You have an option to register your home cameras with us. Now, it doesn't mean that I get to spy on you. I don't get to go say, hey, what's Lisa doing right now? I don't get to do that. I don't have access to your feeds. But you register your cameras, and you can meet with Sergeant Brandon Painter, Sergeant Brian Moore. You can ask them how to onboard your cameras. ConnectLACounty.org. And you register your cameras. That way, if something happens, I can immediately send you a text and say, hey, something happened in your community. Check your cameras for this. Beverly Hills, it's very interesting. Beverly Hills, my good friend is the chief of police over there. Beverly Hills now allows they use the same technology we use. They allow their residents to live stream their cameras in when there's a critical incident. So if their burglary alarm goes off, their law enforcement has direct access to the security cameras if that home is allowed law enforcement to do that. So it kind of tells you where we're living at now, right? We've got to protect our community. And so this is where I'm begging you for your help to support us, to register your cameras, to work with us. Business owners, we want to work with you. We want to make sure that you can go to work, and if it's 10 o'clock at night, that you walk safely to your cars, knowing full well that law enforcement is there. We may not be there physically, right, sitting right next to you, walking you to your car. But guess what? Our virtual patrol deputies are walking you and making sure that everybody is safe in our community. And so with that, I say thank you so much for having us here. Thank you, Major Crimes, for all you do. And please let us know what you need from us.
Are there any questions from the audience for the captain or the task force? Okay. Al?
What do you do with the criminals after you catch them? Are they processed? Are they fingerprinted? Are they put in jail or what?
Yes, but I'm going to turn it over to the detectives because they deal with the rings. But the prosecution, I can't answer that question. But I can say at our station, absolutely, yes, they are fingerprinted, they are booked. And then we do everything within the law to keep them at the station as long as we can before if we have to release them, then we have to release them. But I'll turn it over to my detectives.
He's saying committed a crime.
Yes, so unfortunately, due to the bail restrictions from the courts and DA's prosecution, which we cannot handle, unfortunately, that results in people being released, like this gentleman was saying. But I know our stance is very similar to Lost Hill Station. Even when we have misdemeanor suspects that we catch in some of our blitz operations, they are getting transported to jail. So they are getting hard booked, they're not getting cited out, and they are getting fingerprinted. So what happens to them afterwards, unfortunately, is due to the bail restrictions right now that come through the courts. Unfortunately, that is just the nature of the business. But for any of the cases, at least for the task force that rise to that level, we are trying to do bail enhancements, which means it's going to be through the court. The judge has to authorize it, and what they do is just verify. Okay, if this person makes bail, was that income legitimate? Where did it come from so that it wasn't from a crime? They will review that. But it is something that we are concerned about, and we make every effort to ensure if we can do a bail enhancement, we're doing that to try to keep them in jail.
Yeah, we do everything that we can on our side of law enforcement. Again, once it gets to the prosecution, and if I wasn't in uniform, I could talk more, but I'm in uniform.
Questions? Our Assistant City Manager, Scott.
What is a blitz operation, and have those been deployed in Calabasas?
Yes, here. We'll talk a little bit more about blitz operations. We've done several of them. We've at West Lake Village. We did do one at the Commons at the early onset of the task force. So what are blitz operations essentially is it's task force detectives. So it's at minimum one team. It could be up to all 3 teams, which is 30 plus of us. We work with stations. Lost Hills is usually great about giving us deputies to help if we need a takedown car essentially in a black and white patrol unit who will help us detain these suspects and bring them to jail for booking. They're actually always excellent at helping us with that, so we're very appreciative of that. But it's a collaboration with the different retailers. If we get a concern of, hey, there's an uptick at this particular Target. I know in our Lancaster station, the city actually reached out to us because Target was close to closing up there because of all the theft that was occurring at that store. So we had just weeks of operations that we were committing out there, that we were just going out there, working with loss prevention. So we have people that are monitoring the security cameras, in communication with loss prevention personnel at the stores. There's detectives that are like myself and my partner who will go undercover in the store or in the parking lot to make sure that, okay, hey, if this person comes out and once loss prevention confirms a theft, we will go ahead and step in and do an apprehension and arrest them for the theft. So it's a great collaborative effort, but oftentimes, unfortunately, there are some stores, we'll be at a strip mall, and there's some, loss prevention folks or supervisory staff that don't want to work with us. We know, hey, this person walked in this store and stole. We caught them. They were stealing from Target, but they also stole from your store. Oh no, we don't want to cooperate. So it does happen, unfortunately. So especially if we're here and there's everyone here from a business or has, ties to a business, please report and please also work with us when we come to our investigations, because that's really important.
Thank you. Other questions?
Scott Feldman, longtime resident of Calabasas.
what are the limits and the rights of property owners to protect our property? And I know you're not attorneys, but I'd just like to understand how far we can go to protect our property.
I'm gonna call up my detectives because they get this question a lot. Brandon Painter, our detective sergeant.
All right. It's going to be dependent on circumstances, obviously. In the state of California, there's a penal code, section 490.1, that gives retailers the ability to stop, or their designate the ability to stop someone and use force up to, but not including death, basically. But if that kind of answers your question.
Force up to?
But not including. Yeah, it specifically states that.
Hold somebody at gunpoint if you have a weapon. Can you hold somebody at gunpoint?
Reasonably, I mean, it'd be reasonable. How about that? So
Your weapon must be a reasonable weapon.
no, not the reasonable. The reason in which you're holding them at gunpoint must be reasonable, right? You can't just do it for random things, basically.
And if someone's in your home and they're going to commit physical harm to you.
Absolutely. So there's another penal code section in California that is kind of like a castle doctrine that says a homeowner is automatically to be considered in fear for their life if someone breaks into their home. I think that's 183 PC, I think.
Hi, it's Gary Burns from elected official with Las Virgenes and a long-term Calabasas resident. As you speak about these young men and women that you are arresting, one of the things we never see on TV is what happens to them in their personal lives. Do they care? Do you know who they are now better so you can re-arrest them again? Do they re-offend, which I'm assuming they do, but we don't really hear about that. So how did they feel? Are they scared? Certainly I would be I've never been arrested. I'm not intending to be arrested. So how do they actually, what can we do to maybe not have them re-offend? That's what I'm thinking.
That's a great question. I can't speak for the general consensus, but from our experience, we do have several suspects who are habitual thieves that continue to reoffend. Unfortunately, I can't say if there's a direct link. I'll let you make that conclusion or that decision between our current prosecutory stance in the county, but also in regards to some of the bail rules from the Superior Court. So I think that definitely does enable maybe people to feel like, okay, it is easier, quote unquote, to commit a crime, right? But I'm gonna let everyone make that decision in regards to that. I will say though, in our experience, a lot of the suspects that we deal with, you'd be surprised. We were at a Target in Palmdale last night, and as soon as a suspect walked in, loss prevention would say, yeah, I know them. They're habitual, they're here every week. And it could be something small, right? But over 6 months, it adds up. We're working a case with Target right now. I know I keep bringing them up, but they're a large retailer. Everyone here shops at Target at some point, right? So it affects everyone in this room because we are consumers as well. Target reached out to us. They had a habitual thief who over a 6-month period was at Targets all over. I think one of them out here as well. Over $100,000 of loss. And this, we're not talking he's stealing TVs or, iPods, just mascara, Maybelline mascara, lipsticks, Tide Pods, some over-the-counter pharmaceuticals. So one person who he had been arrested multiple times, unfortunately due to the bail restrictions and, the prosecution, he's back out, right? But, we've now caught him. I think one of our task force detectives is putting about 50 incidents on him. So he's since remained in jail, thankfully, because we were able to do a bail enhancement. So, but that was a great effort between us and Target. We actually, once we filed it with our organized crime DA, which is a special unit of the DA's office, they actually said, okay, well, can you contact all the loss prevention personnel to help us out, get interviews, see if they know them. So my team, we went and did interviews with 30 different Target loss prevention personnel, all different stores throughout LA County. And when I asked them, do you know this guy? Can you recognize him? Oh yeah, I know him. And, they were very familiar. So yes, a very long answer to your question, sir. We do see, the same suspects. often.
So a little bit of follow-up. With these loss prevention people, I know they're not supposed to stop them in these stores. They don't want the legality of it. Do they follow them? Do they let them know that they're being watched? Do they even care? Or we see this on television. Obviously, they're walking out with boxes and no one is stopping them. But it seems to me, at least, I've been seeing more on the 10 o'clock news of crashes now than robberies. Has it slowed down a little bit?
I can't speak for the specifics for this area or jurisdiction. I know we're very busy. I will say that. So if that says to anything, I'll probably let the detectives speak more on, crime trends that are happening here with regards to robberies and burglaries.
I think statistically speaking, our crime is a little bit down in the Calabasas area. I would say your question as far as retailers stopping them, I think it's going to be dependent upon the retailer. Some retailers have loss prevention that is designated for stopping shoplifters. That's what they do. They go there for 8 hours and that's their job. So those retailers are probably a little bit more inclined to stop someone once they leave, as opposed to another retailer that doesn't necessarily employ full-time loss prevention at their store all the time, and they don't want their cashiers or someone who's not really trained in doing that making those stops. So that's why you'll see the discrepancy in between how different retailers do things. But I would say our crimes probably have been consistent out here, steady, with statistically a slight drop.
Yeah, usually we're hovering around 1% higher, 1% lower. We're really kind of hovering around that mark. But we really do try to get out there, do operations, engage the community, engage Target. I mean, even if you live in Calabasas, you're still going to Target to go shop, right? You're still going to Costco to shop. So we really do try to engage. If a business doesn't want to, there's certain businesses that are famous for not, infamous, I should say, for not wanting to play with law enforcement, not wanting to call stuff in. But, some of the conversations that we've had, I know I've had with Kendon and some of the other city managers is, what about the property manager? What about the property owners, right? The actual people who own the property. What about, them partnering with us and putting up cameras? Like, we have to, just because a certain store may say no, that's, corporate says no. Well, what about the actual property owner? And so we got to think differently. And I'm thankful, actually, Kendon was the one that brought that up and just to put a spin on things. So that's what we got to do here as a community.
Hi, I'm May at the Hilton Hotel next door. My question is actually in regards to when you guys have people arrested and things like that. Now, I know to a degree, obviously, if somebody's stealing thousands and thousands, that's one thing. But is there any type of programs that you guys are thinking about where it can help people mentally to shift this so that they don't come back out? And you know what I mean? It would be nice to know that there's something, because I think it starts with the mind, to be honest, so no matter how much you fine them or anything, or you put them in jail, some people they have nothing to lose, so if there's anything around that, it'd be great to know.
Well, we do have a mental health team. Actually, it's called a MET team, mental evaluation team at the station that collaborates with deputies. They're actually partnered up together. So we do have that. It's just mental health is so rampant on so many levels. And then you have drugs on top of all of this. It's just, it's a never ending battle with this. And that really, our job is to actually apprehend. And then it really goes to the district attorney's office. And from there, that's some of the stuff that they do. They have the programs and stuff. The program that we have is our mental evaluation team that kind of helps out with, with the apprehension. Or maybe they don't need apprehension. Maybe they need a 72-hour mental hold. So that's what we do as law enforcement.
To kind of add on that, I believe California passed a law a couple years ago that requires a judge to take into account mental health when hearing a case, and requires them to offer mental health things instead of incarceration for that type of situation. I'd say when it comes to organized retail theft, it's not really a mental health issue. That's their job. This is my job, that's their job. But in order to get in front of the judge, we have to get the case filed first. So that's a different story.
Hi, my name is Deanna. I'm actually an area LP manager for Sephora. I was wondering, and I cover multiple counties, and one of our counties, Kern County, they do have flock cameras. I don't know if you guys do have them here, but if you guys don't, are you guys looking to put them into the county?
We have a substantial amount of flock cameras throughout here. All right, so the city of Calabasas has 18 here. We have them in Agora Hills, Westlake Village, getting them down in Malibu. We have them pretty much everywhere. And we share with surrounding agencies, so that brings our network even bigger. So, and they're a tremendous help.
They're amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
News to my ears.
Yeah, with the flock cameras, also with Calabasas, or the Commons being a partner, we do also have their cameras to live stream into their station as well. So yes, and Sephora, you've been a great partner with law enforcement, and we do appreciate that.
Thank you.
I know everyone's afraid to get political these days, so we'll keep it apolitical, but hopefully we can get an answer from you. With the amount of new visitors to our country, with so-called open borders, do you all have any data as to what percentage of these offenders are good citizens of the United States and what percentage are new visitors to our country?
I don't think we necessarily as a department keep that data, but I will say people coming to this country to commit crimes has been a trend since probably about 2014. We kind of started seeing people from South America who come here on not necessarily illegal crossings, but come here on visas and then commit crimes, either residential burglaries or whatever, and then go back that way. So, but I don't necessarily think our department keeps that statistic.
I do want to say though, regardless of someone's immigration status, we're still going to treat a suspect the same. We're still going to investigate the case to the best of our ability to identify and apprehend someone. So for us, it's bad guys and good guys, right? So to us, they're all bad guys if they're out there committing crimes, and they're going to be treated equally. But unfortunately, like they're saying, that's not something we track as a department.
For example, do you report to ICE? Do you report to Homeland Security when you find that an offender is a non-citizen? Is that something that you do routinely, or is that something out of your jurisdiction?
There's a lot more that plays into it, but
From I'm aware, I think our department policy only allows us to do that if ICE has a active detainer or warrant for that person. So that's the conditions in which.
Do you check for that when you capture someone?
Yeah, we run everyone for wanton warrants, whatever. So if ICE has a warrant for them, then we're allowed to report to them, but outside of that, we do not.
I just want to thank you all very much. Whenever I see a sheriff or a policeman or a fireman anywhere in this country, I stop them and I thank you. You put your lives on the line for us every single day. And I wanted to ask one other question. We were talking about mental health. I remember there were programs for young children. I heard on the news last night, a fourth grader brought a pistol to school. I mean, that would never have happened to me when I grew up. So are there any programs to take young children through and introduce them to the sheriff and the police and get them on our side and not scare them straight, but actually bring them along so that there's something positive to look at? I don't know if that's occurring or not.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. So glad you mentioned that. Usually I have a big mouth, so I don't really need a microphone. But yes, so we have a juvenile team at the the Malibu Lost Hills Sheriff Station that deals with all of our local schools, even our the Pepperdine, as well as the Santa Monica College. So we have that there. You'll see them on campuses. We've seen our law enforcement on the campuses that our kids go to. We really do try and engage the kids. Another thing is this. So last weekend, those of you who missed it, you're gonna have to wait for a year, which is really sad because it was an amazing event. We had an open house at the sheriff's station, and it's such a great community event because we open up our doors to the entire community. Allow them to see our SWAT team, our Aero Bureau, take them on a tour of the jail. You know, I always tell the kids, this is the only time you're allowed to go to jail, you know, and it's just a great time for them to like meet deputies, see deputies differently, rather than giving mommy and daddy a ticket and making them cry. Like, it's just a great community outreach. This Saturday at the Calabasas Agora Hills Community Center, did I say it wrong? Dang, sorry. The Calabasas Community Center. Okay, I'm gonna get fired. This Saturday at 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. 10 to 1, Assemblywoman Jackie Irwin's office will be hosting a safety fair. So I will be there, law enforcement will be there, I think fire will be there. Really, a lot of your first responders will be there, elected officials and council members and city officials will all be there. And if you have young kids, like I know some of you do, because I see you at the schools, bring your kids, because my daughter wrote a little book about being a police officer, and she will be there reading the book to kids. So yes, I say all this great stuff that we are doing for the communities, doing a lot of outreach for the kids. We encourage Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, YMCA, Boys and Girls Club. They come by the station and do tours of the station. They go by detectives and learn what detectives do. So it's just such a great outreach. Our station is really, our doors are really open to the community. We really like community engagement. So if you have an organization and you want to bring kids by, we're really open to giving us tours and really creating that bridge between law enforcement and the community. So long-winded answer, but I really love the community engagement, especially with our young kids.
Hello, I'm Nathaniel. I have a quick question about the task force, actually. How many operations have occurred in Calabasas? And what sort of, like, have you, like, figured out what areas get what amount of attention, like, for the task force? Obviously, you have a gigantic area to cover. So I was just curious about, like, how much, like, attention, like, different areas, like, for example, Calabasas gets.
We've had a few blitz operations, I will say that, that were in the area between, at the Commons, Westlake Village, there's the Target and Costco, so we've been there as well. I can't say how many other follow-up operations that we've had in the area, but it's quite numerous, just because sometimes we do follow people back to this area, right? If they're coming to commit other sorts of crimes. So I can't really say what the number is when it comes to that, but we have had a few retail blitz operations. Really, right now, it is just a huge issue throughout the county. It's experienced everywhere. I know they're closing down, but even one of the retailers that was really big before that was the 99-cent store. You kind of figure, like, who's stealing from the 99-cent store, right? But they were saying that their stores in Linwood and Compton were on the verge of being closed, and this is before they announced that they were getting closed. So they were saying every single one of their stores was getting hit very hard by theft. So it's just, unfortunately, a huge epidemic and problem. And with a lot of these booster crews, like the ones we talked about, they're driving throughout the county. So we'll have people maybe go from Ventura, they stop off in Westlake Village at the Target there, they're driving through Topanga, they stop over there, and then they end up all the way in Pasadena and throughout the county. The same thing happened on the east side of the county. So it really is just all over right now. We're trying to do as much as we can to combat. I know Animal Valley is seeing a ton of organized retail theft right now, just because it's kind of its own pocket contained up there. But it doesn't mean that people don't drive out to, as I'm sure the station can attest to, come out to the more affluent areas to try to commit some of these crimes. So it's really just a larger scale countywide situation.
You know, one thing I tell the community, everybody know that nobody wants to be a police officer anymore across the whole United States. It's hard for us to get people to be law enforcement officers. Even Chicago, all over the United States is experiencing this. LAPD and of course us. So we are down on personnel. But when you have crime rising, right? Not so much in our area, but crime rising and the amount of law enforcement going down, right? We have this gap. We have a huge gap. So what are we going to do with that gap? And that's why we are trying to leverage technology, because organized retail theft, as amazing as they are, they can't be everywhere at once. And so that's where it's incumbent upon us as a community to say, okay, let's join together and let's use technology to fill that gap. So that's what we're trying to do, but also they're a really important part of the plan.
Thank you. We have time for one more question.
Hi, my name's Al. Are these criminals that you capture, are they juveniles? And if they are, do you call their parents to come in and say, and wring their neck?
So for us, actually a fair number of them are juveniles. We're actually seeing, I just handled a robbery series crew where they were targeting 7-Eleven stores and they were jumping the counters to steal lottery tickets. And I worked with Century Sheriff Station on that. They had experienced, total, we had about 35 of those where these juveniles that were being recruited as part of a gang to help with this were going into the 7-Elevens and they would jump the counter, pull out just display cases of lottery tickets. And I mean, within 30 seconds, I know even the captain here was talking about 5 minutes, right? 30 seconds. That's what we timed from them parking, getting out of the car, running in, jumping the counter, leaving with lottery tickets, about 30 seconds, less than 1 minute before they were gone. So in that case, yes, when we did finally apprehend them, we contacted the parents. But you know, there's a lot to it when it comes to juvenile prosecutions. I'll say, I know you guys have a great J team here at the station, so I'll let you guys talk a little bit more about that or anything else that you're doing.
Tickets winners?
No, actually for that one, it was $200,000 that was stolen in tickets, which means if I went in and actually bought that amount at 7-Eleven, that's what I would have paid. So that was the loss to the business. Lotto Commission was great. Again, part of that huge collaboration, right? They were actually able to verify, all right, the lottery scratchers, did they get redeemed? And they would actually show where they were getting redeemed at, the time, the location. So it helped me and my partner go in and go, hey, can we pull a video? And it was the collaboration of the different retailers to show, yeah, sure, no problem. Because they realized, hey, one day 7-Eleven's getting hit, but next day it could be my store. So that was great. I think redeemed, it was somewhere about $80,000 that they ended up getting over, a period. So, and imagine this too. You can only cash up to like $500 at a mini mart. So they had some $10,000 winners that they couldn't even cash.
Thank you so much. Thank you for everything you do in the community.